Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much for joining. I will put a reminder on the group and then we'll get started. Okay. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं कृष्णचैतन्यमीश्वरम् नमामो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैता गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. My humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas on the call. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Hare Krishna. We are continuing our study of Bhakti Vaibhav, and today we'll be starting Canto 2, Chapter 3. Canto 2, Chapter 3 is titled Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. Okay, it's a nice title and a nice chapter. But before we get into the verses of this chapter, if you can remember or just suggest what all we have seen in chapters 1 and 2 of second canto. Basically, what happened in chapters 1 and 2 of second canto is we saw that Sutta Goswami was addressing different processes of perfection. So he was giving different options how one can perfect one's life. So in the previous two chapters, what are some of the processes that were touched upon by Sutta Goswami? If you can just give your answers, we'll see if we have covered all the processes so far. You can take a guess, it's okay. We have just studied chapters 1 and 2. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Mataji. Virat Roop meditation, meditation on Paramatma.
Yeah, Virat Roop meditation, meditation on the Paramatma. So nice. Thank you so much. You have such a beautiful picture of, is this Krishna or Balaram?
This is Balram from Allachua, Mataji.
Balaram, I know. And with that beautiful picture, you're talking about Virat Rupa and Paramatma. I was just thinking. That's so beautiful. Anyway, thank you so much, Divyangi Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, so we saw two processes. Any other processes we saw Sut Goswami or Shukdev Goswami touching upon? Did they talk about any other process that you can think of?
Demigod worship as well, Mataji.
Yeah, there was a touch, I think, but now we are going to do that in detail in this chapter. Very nice. And then we also saw something called as Krama Mukti, remember that Sat Chakra Yoga? That is also a process. I know it's there within the Ashtanga Yoga system, but basically moving chakras and all that, we saw that process also. Then we saw the process of how karma yogis, right? They are very, basically not even karma yogis, but a grihamedi. How he's not really trying for perfection, but then he's wasting his life. Right. So we saw the contrast between a grihamedi and we saw the contrast in the end. Whom did he touch upon? He touched upon the path of the Bhakti yogis. Actually, that's what he did towards the end of the second chapter. So, in the previous class, if you remember, it was all about sadhana bhakti. The verses from 33 onwards, it was about sadhana bhakti. So, after he spoke about the different Ashtanga yoga processes of meditation on the Paramatma, meditation on Virat Rupa, and then about Griha Medis, and then he touched upon various topics, various processes. But at the end, he said the best is a person who's trying to do sadhana in the path of bhakti. Specifically, he touches upon that and he says these are therefore sadhana bhakti is actually the best of all practices. That is how he finished the previous chapter. And anyone remembers the two main benefits of sadhana bhakti? That was verse 37 of the previous chapter. You can even look it up if you want. And this is just for our remembrance. So, two main benefits of sadhana bhakti. Verse 37. The reason I'm asking is so that everyone can look up the book. I'll keep waiting.
Is it to purify the polluted
Mm.
propensity for material enjoyment and go back to God and Mataji?
Very bold, very nice. Thank you, Divyangi Mataji. Very, very beautiful answer. Yes, to purify the polluted mind and take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna and go back home, back to Godhead. Yes, very, very nice. So that is how he finished the previous chapter. Thank you so much, Mataji, for responding. So now we are going to touch upon another path which generally people get confused. See, when we talk about devotional service in the previous chapter, the last few verses were focusing on bhakti, sadhana bhakti, and so on. But when we talk about devotional service, there is a lot of confusion whom should this devotional service be executed toward? Like, right, even we ourselves, when we were growing up back in India, many of us, when we were growing up back in India, we would say, oh, this person has so much bhakti, this person has so much devotion, and we would think ourselves as having great devotion, but we didn't know where to direct that devotion, right? We would direct it in various places. Like if even if a person was worshipping some demigod or whatever character that person had in his mind, we would say this person has so much bhakti towards this personality, right? That's how we would talk. So there is a lot of confusion basically to whom this bhakti should be directed. So that's where our Shukdev Goswami, he comes forward and he talks about whom bhakti, I mean, the difference between demigod worship and Krishna worship or the Supreme Lord's worship. Okay, so first he talks about the path that is chosen by the less intelligent men who worship demigods. So bhakti is understood to be the best process, but we should be very careful whom we are directing it towards. So we should worship the Supreme Lord and not worship some demigod and say, I'm having bhakti. So bhakti cannot be, Prabhupada says, bhakti can be applied only to Vishnu Tattva. Okay. If it is elsewhere, then that is not called as bhakti as per Prabhupada. So, and of course, as per the acharyas, that is not considered bhakti. Because generally, if we are approaching demigods, we approach them for some material benefit. Okay. So there is no question of pure devotion. So now Parikshit Maharaj, in the beginning, he asked some questions to Shukadev Goswami. He asked about the activities of a dying man. So now our Shukadev Goswami is telling, see Parikshit, in the beginning, you asked about the activities of a dying man, and I have spoken to you in great detail detailing various paths. I've told you about Paramatma meditation, about Virat Rupa meditation, about Krama Mukti. I spoke about Sadhana Bhakti. I spoke about all these different paths. Now, and I also told in the previous chapter, the most intelligent man will take up Sadhana Bhakti, right? So the most intelligent man will take up Sadhana Bhakti towards Krishna, towards the Supreme Lord. Now, what about the less intelligent men? That is what he's going to continue to say in the first part of this chapter. So let's see the first verse of this chapter. Sri Shukha Uvacha Evam Nigaditam Prishtavan Yat Bhavan Mama Nranamyan Mriyamananam Manusheshu Manishinam. Anyone would like to read translation, please?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hari Bol.
Shri Shukadev Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, as you have inquired from me as to the duty of the intelligent man who is on the threshold of death, so I have answered you. Thank you.
So it appears at this point in time, Shukdev Goswami is ready to wrap up the Bhagavatam. So Parikshit Maharaj asked some questions and Shukdev Goswami said, okay, I finished answering your question. I gave you all these different options and finally I said, Sadhana Bhakti is the best of all processes. So I finished answering you. Okay. So now let's see what Prabhupada says in the purport. Prabhupada says, actually, most people in this world are very less intelligent. Why does he talk about the intelligence of a person? Because Parikshit Maharaj had inquired about the duty of an intelligent man who is on the threshold of death. Right? He asks about Manishinam. Manisha means what? Intelligence, right? So he asks about Manishinam. What is the intelligent man supposed to do at the time of death? So Prabhupada tells us, in this human society, most of us are not at all intelligent. Why we are not intelligent? Because we do not have sufficient knowledge about spirit soul. All our knowledge is about the material elements. Where is the knowledge and discussion about the spirit soul? If there is no vichar about the spirit soul and about the supreme soul, then one's knowledge is not complete. I think this is also there. The story, there is a story, I think, Uddalaka and Shvetaketu. It's there in the Upanishads. There was this Shvetaketu who had gone to school. It's there in the Upanishads, the story. And his father was very happy. The boy graduates and he comes back. And the father is very happy and he asks his son Shvetaketu, Shvetaketu, what did you learn? And Shvetaketu tells all that he learned in school. Basically, he went to a Gurukul and he was a Brahmin boy and he learned all the different kinds of yajnas and this and that. So Shvetaketu says, oh, I learned so much. It's been 12 years. I learned this, I learned that, and so on. Then the father asked, did you learn that which is known, everything else can be known? That is, did you learn that which being known, everything else would be known? He asks this question. And Shvetaketu says, how can there be something that I know, knowing which everything else can automatically be known? I don't think my guru has taught me anything like that. So he's sent back to school. And then he goes back again and again. Every year when he comes back, the father asks the same question. Did you learn that which, having known, everything else gets to be known? So this goes on. And finally, the father educates him. It is about the Supreme Lord. If you know about the soul, the super soul, the relationship between the spirit soul and the super soul, that knowledge is considered complete knowledge. If you have that knowledge, it is enough. The rest of the things in this world will automatically be known. And in fact, in the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna at one point, he says, see, Arjun, I've told you everything. There is nothing more for me to say. At one point he says in the Bhagavad Gita, everything that you have to know is already revealed by me. So in fact, if you read just one book, Bhagavad Gita, you will get all the knowledge that is required. Similarly, Prabhupada in this purport is telling there are so many millions and billions of men and women, and all of them are not very intelligent. They're very less intelligent. Why? Because they have very less knowledge of the spirit soul. And almost all of them, we have a very wrong conception of life because we are identifying only with the gross body and the material elements of this world. And we're talking about high and low positions in society and so on. So, but however, we should go beyond this bodily concept of life. So, out of thousands and thousands of men, only one may inquire about the spirit soul and thus consult revealed scriptures like the Vedanta Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. Manushyanam Sahasreshu, right? Krishna also says, only one among 1,000 will actually inquire unto who he is, and there will be only one among that 1,000 who will inquire about the super soul or the Supreme Lord. So it is very, very rare. Such a person is very rare. In spite of reading and hearing all the scriptures, unless one is in touch with the spiritual master, he will not be able to realize who he is. And out of thousands and thousands of men, one may know that Lord Krishna is in fact the Supreme Lord. So this is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada also quotes Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 20, verses 122 to 123. We will actually see those two verses. Sorry, I didn't keep it open. Madhya 120 to 123, right? Okay. माया मुक्त जीवेर नाही स्वत कृष्ण ज्ञान जीवेरे कृपाया कैला कृष्ण वेद पुराण. The conditioned soul cannot revive his Krishna consciousness by his own effort, but out of causeless mercy, Lord Krishna compiled the Vedic literature and it supplements the Puranas. So basically, the living entity by himself cannot get all the knowledge for which Krishna has compiled the Vedic literature. But then how do we access the Vedic literature? Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanara Jnana Krishna Mora Prabhu Tara Jivera Jnana. He says, The forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literatures, the realized spiritual master, and the super soul. So there are three gurus. It is Krishna himself through the Vedic literature, the spiritual master, and the super soul. Through these, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is, and he can understand that Lord Krishna is the eternal master and deliverer from the clutches of Maya. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge of the conditioned life and can come to understand how to attain liberation. So basically, we are all fools. And why are we fools? Because we are not doing Atma Vichar. We are not inquiring unto who we are, and we are not inquiring who the Supreme Lord is. It is very, very rare for a person to have interest in this inquiry. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, you cannot make this inquiry all by yourself. You need the aid of scriptures. And what else aid do we need? We also need the aid of the spiritual master. Though Krishna is revealing all this knowledge through the Vedic scriptures, we need the medium of the spiritual master to actually understand what Krishna is telling. And Prabhupada says, even the so-called intelligent class of people may become forgetful of their real relationship with the Lord. So the process of bhakti is the process where we are trying to revive our lost relationship with Krishna. And this human form of life, it is very, very rare. We have gone through 8,400,000 species of life and we have attained this human form of life. This human form of life is not to be taken cheaply. Atato Brahma Jignasa, to the verse Atato Brahma Jignasa, which is from the Vedanta Sutras, the very first Vedanta Sutra. Prabhupada says, now that you have come to the human form of life, inquire unto the Supreme. Prabhupada says. That means if this human form of life is so rare and your main business in this human form of life is to inquire unto the Supreme, to utilize your intelligence to the maximum capacity. Therefore, Prabhupada says, Manishinam means very thoughtful. That word is particularly used here. A Manishinam person like Maharaj Parikshit must therefore take up to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and fully engage himself in devotional service of chanting, hearing, and so on. He must engage all his time in Hari Kathamrita, hearing about the name and pastimes of the Lord. This action is especially recommended for one who is preparing for his death. See how nicely Parikshit Maharaj asks. Parikshit Maharaj inquired about the duty of an intelligent man. There are many foolish people, but what should an intelligent man do? An intelligent man, in the previous chapter, Shukadev Goswami said he should take up to bhakti. That's how he ended the previous chapter. And in the beginning of this chapter, Shukadev Goswami is saying, now I have answered you about the duty of an intelligent man. So what an intelligent man should do. Now, there is a follow-up question. What about people who are not very intelligent? What about people who do not understand to whom bhakti must be performed? What do they do? We all have done this in the past. So, text 2 to 7 clarifies that. Brahmavarchasakamastu yajeta brahmana patim indram indriya kamastu prajakama prajapitan devi mayam sukshri kamas tejas kamo vibhavasum vasu kamo vasun rudran virya kamo vata viryavan अन्नाध्या कामस्त्व अदितिं स्वर्गकामो अदिते सुतान् विश्वान् देवान् राज्यकामा साध्यान् संसाधको विशम् आयुष्कामो अश्विनौ देवौ पुष्टिकाम इलां यजेत् प्रतिष्ठाकाम पुरुषो रोदसी लोकमातरौ रूपाभिकामो गन्धर्वान् स्त्रीकामो अप्सर ऊर्वशीं आधिपत्य काम सर्वेषां यजेते परमेष्टिनां यज्ञां यजेत यशस्काम कोशकाम प्रचेतसं विद्याकामास्तु गिरिशं दाम्पत्यार्थ उमां सतीम्. Anyone would like to read translation?
Can I read, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Thank you. Translation. One who desires to be absorbed in the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence should worship the master of the Vedas, Lord Brahma or Brahaspati, the learned priest. One who desires powerful sex should worship the heavenly king Indra, and one who desires good progeny should worship the great progenitor called the Prajapatis. One who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi, the superintendent of the material world. One desiring to be very powerful should worship fire, and one who aspires only after money, and one who aspires one who aspires only after money should worship the Vedas. One should worship the Rudra incarnations of Lord Shiva if he wants to be a great hero. One who wants a large stock of grain should worship Aditi. One who desires to attain the heavenly planets should worship the sons of Aditi. One who desires a worldly kingdom should worship Vishmadev, and one who wants to be popular with the general mass of population should worship the Sadhya demigod. One who desires a long span of life should worship the demigods known as the Ashwini Kumaras, and a person desiring a strongly built body should worship the earth. One who desires stability in his post should worship the horizon and the earth combined. One who desires to be beautiful should worship the beautiful residents of the Gandharva planet, and one who desires a good wife should worship the Apsaras and the Urvashi society girls of the heavenly kingdom. One who desires domination over others should worship Lord Brahma, the head of the universe. One who desires tangible fame should worship the personality of Godhead, and one who desires a good bank balance should worship the demigod Varuna. If one desires to be a greatly learned man, he should worship Lord Shiva, and if one desires a good marital relation, he should worship the chaste goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. So these are the different recommendations that is given in the Vedic literature. For different desires, you can approach different kinds of demigods and they all will help you acquire your desires. So the less intelligent people, they are more interested in material affairs, how they can become more and more comfortable in this world, how they can acquire power, money, how they can become a great hero, how they can have enough stock of grains, how they can attain the heavenly planet, how they can become strong, beautiful, have a beautiful spouse, become very well learned and very popular, have victory over enemies, enjoy sense gratification, and have good marital relationship and so on. So these are the general interests of people in this world, right? So these are all normal interests. Everybody has these interests. So in the Vedic literature, there is different guidelines or different formulas that is given for us to enjoy what we desire. So the formula is you approach the appropriate demigod, and that demigod, if you worship him, he will give you whatever you desire. So oftentimes there is a huge confusion between the process of bhakti and the process of approaching a demigod to fulfill our desire. So that's why this verse is pertinent at this point in time. All this while, in the previous chapter, towards the end, we saw Shukadev Goswami, he mentioned that the best of all the process is to perform sadhana bhakti. But now he's clarifying, if you're intelligent, you will perform sadhana bhakti towards Vishnu. But if you're not intelligent, you will go to demigods and you will keep asking for things of this material world. Okay, and there is a formula also given in scriptures about whom to worship to get what you desire. And Prabhupada elaborates in the purport. He says, there are different modes of worship for different persons desiring successes in particular subjects. The conditioned living entity within the purview of the material world cannot be an expert in everything, right? We, conditioned living entities, we cannot be experts in every single field of activity in this world. Like one person cannot be all beautiful, all powerful, or always have victory over his enemy, enjoy all the sense gratification, enjoy tangible fame, have a good bank balance, and have everything at the same time. It is not possible. So it is really not possible to acquire everything by our own efforts also, have everything simultaneously by our own efforts. So what do people generally do? People generally approach demigods, and by worshipping certain demigods, they acquire these powers. An example is given of Ravana. Ravana, he became very, very powerful by worshipping Lord Shiva. And how did he worship Lord Shiva? He would chop off every one of his head to please Lord Shiva. So doing a very tamasic kind of worship, he pleased Lord Shiva, and because Lord Shiva was pleased by him, by the grace of Lord Shiva, he became so powerful that all the demigods were afraid of Ravana, and he was able to conquer all the three worlds. So this went on to a point that he even went to challenge the Supreme Lord, who was Sri Ramachandra. And once he did that, it led to his ruination. So generally, we people, we aspire to get some material objects for enjoyment. But if we are doing it, that's okay. But remember that all that you acquire is not going to last forever, like the case of Ravana. Ravana, he did a very tamasic yajna and he wanted to please Lord Shiva. And Shiva was pleased and he gave him the boons that he was able to award. Okay. Generally, the tendency of demigods is if you approach the demigods for certain with certain requests, asking them for a boon, whatever is there within their capacity, their nature is to give it to you. Okay, they will just give it. Okay, you have pleased me. This is within my capacity. Giving this boon is within my capacity. I will give it to you, and they will give it away. Krishna is very, very conservative. Okay, so Krishna will not give easily, but generally demigods will give it easily. So what happens? People who don't have enough intelligence, they are deluded by Maya and they want to enjoy material life. To enjoy material life, they know how to get what they desire. How do they get what they desire? They go and approach these demigods. And somehow or the other, they go through austerities to please these demigods, and these demigods will award them with what they are asking. But however, the point is, whatever we have acquired through this process is not going to stay permanently with us. Like in the case of Ravana, Prabhupada has quoted. The real problem of life in the material world is to actually solve the question of birth, death, old age, and disease. That is the real problems of life. But we are looking at all minute problems and we are trying to take help. But remember, yes, you can take help, but it is not really going to solve the bigger problem. Okay, even if it is solving your problems now, it is only a temporary relief. So Shukadev Goswami says, out of 8,400,000 species, the human form of life is very, very rare. And we human beings, we are endowed with the capability of inquiring unto something that is higher. So we should utilize this human form of life and not waste our time in temporary things. Rather, we should become a Manishi. Manishi means one who's very intelligent, like Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj is addressed by Shukdev Goswami as Manishi, or a man of highly developed mind, because at the time of death he left all the material enjoyment and he surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord, and he wanted to hear the messages about the Supreme Lord. So people who are not engaging their time in that, and who are engaging their time in acquiring some material benefits, such people are not considered very, very intelligent. So if we want to be intelligent people, we should try to avoid these aspirations and instead seek a permanent life. What is that permanent life? Going home back to Godhead. And how do we acquire that? By doing that bhakti towards Krishna. Because whatever we are doing with the demigods is not really bhakti. We are actually trying for something. Okay, trying to endeavor for this material world. That is what we are doing when we are approaching demigods in general. Okay, so this set of verses from 2 to 7 spoke about who gives what, which demigod gives what. I know it's not a verse that we should ponder too much on, because we don't want to get anywhere with these different material desires. So I will not quiz you on whom will you go to for this. It will be very bad if I start asking these questions. Whom will you go if you want wealth? Whom will you go to if you want jnana, and so on. So let's move on to the next verse, which is text number 8. Now, this is interesting. It says, Dharmartha uttama shlokam tanu tanvan pitrin tyajet raksha kama punya janan ojas kamo marudghanan. Anyone would like to read translation?
Translation, Jai Srila Prabhupada. One should worship Lord Vishnu or his devotee for spiritual advancement in knowledge and for protection of heredity and advancement of dynasty. One should worship the various demigods.
So here, while he's talking about the various material benefits, he's just inserting something interesting. Dharmartha uttama shloka. What dharma? Paro dharma. So for the highest of all dharmas, which is spiritual advancement, you have to worship uttama shloka. You have to worship the Supreme Lord. Or you can worship those who are attached to the Supreme Lord. Uttama shloka means one who is glorified by great verses. He's called as Uttama Shloka. Or even one who's glorifying the Lord with great verses can also be Uttama Shloka. Okay, Bahuvrihi Samasa. So we can see that a person who is glorifying the Lord is also worshipable, and such a person is the devotee of the Lord. So you can either worship Vishnu or his devotee if you want to advance in spiritual knowledge. And he continues to talk about the other things of this world. Like if you want hereditary advancement, you can worship various demigods. There are so many different demigods, like the Pitras of the Pitraloka. If you want an offspring, you can worship the Pitras. And if you want a lot of strength, you can worship the Marudganas. So like that, there are different opportunities to worship different classes of demigods for other desires. So Prabhupada in the purport, he explains, the path of religion entails making progress in the path of spiritual advancement and ultimately reviving our eternal relationship with Vishnu, either in his impersonal effulgence or the localized Paramatma, or his ultimate feature as the Supreme Lord in this Bhagavan feature. So, if we really want to advance in Dharma, we should look for Parodharma. How do you go to the point of Parodharma? By worshipping the Supreme Lord. This Supreme Lord, of course, is present in 3 features, in the Brahman feature, in the Paramatma feature, and ultimately in his Bhagavan feature. But real advancement is to understand him in his Bhagavan feature. Now, if we want to increase our progeny and increase our generations of people who are in our family, then we take shelter of the Pitras, who are demigods. And like that, there are so many different classes of demigods who can help us achieve many other desires that we need. Okay. Next, this is also continuing in the same lines. Rajyakamo manon deva nirittintva abhicharan yajet kamo kama yajet somam akama purusham param. Anyone would like to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji. One who desires domination over the kingdom or an empire should worship the Manus. One who desires victory over an enemy should worship the demons. And one who desires sense gratification should worship the moon. But one who desires nothing of the material enjoyment should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Thank you, Mataji. So again, in this verse also it is being stressed. If you don't want anything of this world, if you do not desire any sort of material enjoyment, then whom do you worship? You worship Purusham Param. Who's Purusham Param? The Supreme Personality of Godhead. If you are a Kama, then you worship Purusham Param. You worship the Supreme Lord. But however, if you want dominion over a kingdom, you can worship the Manus. If you want victory over the enemy, you can worship demons. If you want to gratify all your desires all the time, you can worship the moon god. Now, this is very interesting. This will be clarified in the next verse, Akama Sarvakama Va Moksha Kama Udarati. In that verse, this will be clarified. But just think about this. The first statement, one who desires dominion over a kingdom or an empire should worship the Manus. That is the recommendation, right? But however, what happened in the case of Dhruva? Dhruva desired dominion over a kingdom. And he wanted an empire that is greater than his great grandfather Brahma. But whom did he go and worship? He was asked to worship the Supreme Lord. Right? He was not asked to worship the Manus. Remember, the Manu was whom? His own grandfather. Right? Swayam Bhuva Manu son was Uttanapada. Uttanapada's son was Dhruva Maharaj. So it could easily said, just please your grandfather and you will get the kingdom. Right? But what did Mother Suniti say? Suniti said, whatever you want, whom should you go to? You should go to Purusha Param, go to the Supreme Lord. He will fulfill all your desires. Now, that is what will be confirmed in the next verse. You don't have to go to so many different demigods for so many desires. Okay, but let's not jump there. But since this dominion over a kingdom had come, I just brought that up. But after we read Prabhupada's purport and we go to that verse, we'll discuss that in detail. Prabhupada says, for a liberated person, all these different enjoyments that are listed is absolutely useless, right? Only those who are conditioned by the material modes and captivated by this external energy, they are interested in material enjoyment and they go to different demigods to get their desires fulfilled. So generally, materialists, they seek the favor of various demigods and generally they are not in control of their senses and they give themselves to different kinds of nonsense. So as devotees, we do not desire for all this and we should be sensible enough that the things of this material world are temporary. We should have that understanding and we should be sensible to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as it is mentioned in this verse. Because after reading all this Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, after being in Krishna consciousness for so many years, we should have that basic maturity that I should not approach anyone for anything, especially something material. I should not approach demigods for something material. I should not go to demigods. Why I should not go to demigods? Because I should not ask for something material. That is the idea. Similarly, when I go to Krishna also, I should have the maturity that I've learned so much. I understand nothing in this world is going to stay permanent. So let me not always try for asking something material. Let me try to focus on Krishna and think beyond what is available in this material world. Right? So this sort of preaching is not only against the teachings of Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. What sort of preaching? Asking something material all the time. But it is also foolish if you're continuously asking for something material. Just as it is foolish to claim that with the purchase of any travel ticket, one may reach the same destination. No one can reach Bombay from Delhi by purchasing a ticket for Baroda. Clearly, it is defined herein that persons who have different desires and who are under different modes of worship, who have no desire for material enjoyment, let me read that again. It is clearly defined herein that persons impregnated with different desires have different modes of worship. But one who has no desire for a material enjoyment should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And this worshipping process is called as devotional service. So devotion, you cannot say I'm doing pure devotional service and you can't go and ask demigods, give me this boon, give me that boon. That is not considered pure devotional service. That is as good as buying a ticket for Baroda and expecting to land in New Delhi. It doesn't work like that. Devotees in general have no desire for material enjoyment and they worship the Supreme Lord without any expectation. Such a process is called as devotional service. So, pure devotional service means service to the Lord without any material desire, not expecting the Lord to fulfill all your desires. Okay, for fulfillment of material desires, one may ask, I still have material desires. What should I do? You're telling me I should not go to the Supreme Lord for material desires, because worshipping the Supreme Lord means being without any material desires, not expecting Him to fulfill my material desires. Only that is called as bhakti. That is what you're defining bhakti as. But then in this conditioned state, I still have material desires. What should I do? Shall I go to a demigod because I have these different desires? I think all of us, if we search deep within our heart, we still have many, many material desires. Nobody is so liberated at this point in time. At least I can speak for myself, if not everybody on the call. So we all have, or I have, some sort of a desire lingering. Of course, theoretically, I understand that one should not hanker for material desires. One should not go to Krishna and ask him for material things, or one should not even go to demigods for material things. All this I know theoretically, right? But in my heart, I still have some desire. So then what do I do? So it is okay, because that is our nature, because we are not fully liberated. Even if we have some material desires, it is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam that it is better to go to Krishna for your material desire than go to some demigods for your material enjoyment. So, whatever the situation may be, we should only approach the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is Purusham Param. He is beyond this material world. Narayana Paro Abhyaktat. This is also confirmed by Sripad Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya, before his Gita Bhashyam or before his any of his Bhashya, other than the Vedanta Sutras, the other Bhashyas, whatever he writes, he always begins with this verse, Narayana Paro Abhyaktat. He pays his obeisances to Narayana, who's Paro Abhyaktat, who's beyond this material manifestation. So that's why it's called as Purusha Para, Uttama Purusha. All these names are they applied only to the Supreme Lord, because the Supreme Lord is beyond the influence of this material world. So whether you have some desire or you don't have any desire, whatever it may be, still one should only approach the Supreme Lord, who is Purusha Para. Okay, that is explained in text number 10. Don't go to demigods. It's okay if you're still hankering material desires. Still, like Dhruva Maharaj, as per the instruction given by Dhruva Maharaj's mother, Suniti, go to the Supreme Lord. Now, Suniti is also well read. Dhruva, of course, he was a child, but Suniti seemed to be well read, and everybody else in the kingdom was also well read. Everybody would have known, if you want dominion over the kingdom of the earth, what should you do? You should approach your Dhruva Maharaj, you should approach your grandfather Manu. It was an open secret. But what did Suniti say? Suniti said, go to Narayana, go to the Supreme Lord. He is the one who will actually fulfill all your desires. And that was a great choice, because what happened in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, it is not that he just got the kingdom of his father after, he became the successor of the throne. Actually, technically, he became the successor. But not only that, he also got the Dhruva Mandala and he is an eligible candidate to go home back to Godhead. Even while in Dhruva Mandal, he's still in a liberated platform because that is also an extension of Vaikuntha within the material world. So he gets everything. Why? Because he approached the right person. He approached the person who is beyond this material manifestation. He approached the person who is controlling this material manifestation. This material manifestation is under his supervision, right? It is his energy. So he went to the right person. Just like Prabhupada says, sometimes when you have to get some work done, it is not enough if you just approach the servants. You should approach the boss, the final boss. And when you approach the final boss, he'll be the one who can satisfy it immediately rather than you going from one servant to the other or one clerk to the other. Prabhupada gives such examples. So like that, Dhruva Maharaj was very, very intelligent. His mother was rather intelligent, who recommended him, don't go to all these different personalities, just go to the Supreme Lord. And he went and he did tapas. And not only did he get what he wanted, he also got completely purified to the point that he was thinking, I only want the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay. So, explaining that particular aspect, verse number 10, very famous verse. And I'm sure it should be there for recitation. If it is not there, also we have to memorize. There is no option. So all of us can take turns. You want to raise hand, you all can raise hand, and we can recite verse number 10. Akama sarvakamo va mokshakama udaradihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Anyone would like to recite? Yeah,
Hare
wow,
Krishna
so many hands. Wonderful. Okay, go ahead. Saudamani Mataji, please start.
Yes, Mata. Thank you. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Hare Krishna.
Very well. Thank you so much. Indulekha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Akama sarvakamo va mokshakama udharadhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Satyam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Akama sarva kama vyo moksha kama udharadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Sunil Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udavadi tirvena bhakti yogena yudeta purusham param.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Rupal Mataji.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी अकाम सर्व कामो वा मोक्ष काम उदारधी तीव्रेन भक्ति योगेन यजेत पुरुषं परम्.
Thank you, Prabhu Mataji. Vrinda Vaishnavi.
अकाम सर्वकामो वा मोक्षकाम उदारधी तीव्रेण भक्तियोगेन यजेत पुरुषं परम्.
Very good, Sudarshan Alvar. Very, very good. Kiran Mataji.
अकाम सर्वकामो वा मोक्षकामा उदारदे तीव्रेण भक्ति योगेन यजेत पुरुषं परम्.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Mataji. Garang Gopal Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण माताजी अकाम सर्व काम वा मोक्ष काम उदारधि तीव्रेण भक्ति योगेन यजेता पुरुषं परम्.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you all so much for reciting so nicely. Anyone would like to read translation, please?
Hare Krishna Mataji. A person who has a lot of intelligence, whether he be full of all material desires, without any material desire, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead.
Yes, thank you, Sunil Prabhu. Please stay. Sunil Prabhu, if you are full of desires, if you have lots of, what's your most wanted desire, Prabhuji? What is itching your heart at this point in time?
Naina Mataji.
Hmm. You're so desireless that you're not even able to remember what your desire is.
No, Mataji, I have so many material desires.
Okay, without feeling shy, just tell one desire, Prabhu.
Devotee wife.
Devotee?
Wife.
Wife, oh, very nice, Prabhu. Very, very nice. So if you are full of desire also, you worship the Supreme Lord. If you are without any material desire, meaning if you don't have any material desire, I don't want anything, I'm happy in this life. I just want to stay this way. I'm okay with anything that Krishna provides me. If you are like that, if you're without any material desire, also you worship the Supreme Lord. If you are desiring liberation, if you want impersonal liberation, also you worship the Supreme Lord. And by all means, you have to worship only the Supreme Whole, the Supreme Lord. One who has broad intelligence should always worship the Supreme Lord. Udara. Udara means very broad. Udaradihi, one who has very broad intelligence, who's very smart, basically. Whatever the situation may be, whether he wants a good wife or he wants a good house or he wants good children or he doesn't want anything, he's happy with whatever the situation is, or he wants to go to the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, whatever the situation may be, one should always worship the Supreme Lord by all means. Okay. Actually, it's very interesting. I don't know. I just thought of it now. If you see the verse itself, it is on a positive note. This verse, Akama Sarva Kamo Va Sarva Kama. That's all desires, it says. Nothing negative is mentioned in this verse. Like if you see the previous verses, it's just something that I thought of, so I'm sharing. I could be wrong, but sometimes you just feel like speaking something, right? It just flashes in your mind. So when we were talking about these different desires, there are some desires which I thought was a little strange, like conquering one's enemies. You can worship demons and things like that, right? So a lot of positive, negative, a lot of passionate desires, all that is given here. Stri kamaha, yasha kamaha, all these are quite passionate, right? So like that, Pratishtha Kama. So like there's a lot of other desires I mentioned. But once you come to the Supreme Lord, generally we see that the modes of passion and the modes of ignorance is generally muted. Okay, of course, the word Sarvakama is mentioned. Sarvakama means all desires. But generally, people who approach the Supreme Lord, they're very broadly intelligent. Okay, they don't really go for something that is in the mode of passion and ignorance. By the time they come to Vishnu Bhakti, a person who comes to the worship of Vishnu, generally he doesn't desire something in the lower modes. He's already refined. Okay, he's already refined. Yes, he has some desires, but these desires are also very refined. Like Sunil Prabhu was mentioning, I want a devotee wife. He didn't say, I want a very good looking wife. He didn't say that. He just said, I want a devotee wife. So already the refinement is there by the time you come to Vishnu, because that is how Vishnu worship is. It is in the mode of goodness and beyond. Of course, he is the Lord of the mode of goodness, so it is very obvious. And true knowledge, because here we see the word udara dihi. Dihi means intelligence. Knowledge is born only from sattva guna. Unless we come to the platform of sattva guna, real knowledge can never be born. What is real knowledge? Real knowledge is the knowledge of how to get liberated from this world, how to get attached to the lotus feet of Vishnu. That is true knowledge. We have already seen that in the previous verses. True knowledge is inquiry unto the Supreme, understanding who we are, Atma Vichar, understanding who the Supreme Lord is. That is real knowledge. Now, if you have to come to the point of real knowledge, first you should be in the mode of goodness. And unless you're in the mode of goodness, you're not even going to approach Vishnu, who's Purusham Param, who's beyond this material creation. So the verse itself is very beautiful, and we'll see how Prabhupada has analyzed this verse. So Prabhupada, first he says, the Supreme Personality of God, Sri Krishna, is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Purushottama. or the Supreme Personality. The chapter 15 is called as Purushottama Yoga. Uttama Purusha is beyond this material manifestation. So this Uttama Purusha only, because he is beyond this material manifestation, he is the only one who can avoid liberation. Only Mukunda can avoid liberation. There are also so many stories of some people who went to Lord Shiva asking for liberation. But then Lord Shiva said, I am not the one. If you really want liberation, you should ask Mukunda. He is the one who can truly give you liberation. So there's the story of Gantakarna. There was a devotee by the name Gantakarna, and he put bells on his ears, and if at all he heard the name Vishnu or something like that, he would shake his head because he didn't want to hear the name of Vishnu. He only wanted to worship Shiva. But then later, when it came to liberation, Lord Shiva said, if you really want liberation, you should first become a Vishnu worshipper. He is the only one who can award you liberation. And in fact, the liberation that is awarded to the impersonalists is also through Vishnu only. Actually, technically, if you see, impersonalists are generally worshippers of Shiva and Devi. Generally, 99.9% of impersonalists are always worshippers of Lord Shiva and Devi. So it is understood, meaning like it is a concept that is derived, that Shiva and Devi can give liberation. They can give impersonal liberation. That's why I am worshipping them. Okay, on the surface, that concept is accepted on the surface. But truly, who's the one who's awarding that liberation for that person? It is coming from Vishnu, actually. If Shiva, worship of Shiva is going to give you impersonal liberation for the people of the other sampradayas, that impersonal liberation has to be sanctioned by Krishna. Otherwise, that impersonal liberation doesn't even hold good. Okay, that's why Prabhupada is telling he is the one who can award liberation even to the impersonalists. The impersonalists, they want to merge into the Brahma Jyoti, the bodily rays of the Lord. But what is this Brahma Jyoti? It is not something different from the Lord. It is his effulgence. If you want to remain in his effulgence in the form of attaining the Brahma Jyoti, you have to bow down to him. He is the one who has to sanction it. Right? And the relationship between Krishna and the Brahma Jyoti is like that of the glowing sun ray and the sun disk. So the sun ray is not independent of the sun disk. Therefore, one who desires to merge into the Supreme Brahma Jyoti must also worship the Lord. And how can you worship the Lord? The Lord is always worshipped by Bhakti. So Bhakti is always there in any process you take up. Whether even if you have to go to impersonal Brahma Jyoti, Bhakti is an anga. You have to practice some form of bhakti. Even the jnanis practice some form of bhakti. You see, the jnanis also, for them, bhakti is an anga. Because without bhakti, you cannot get anywhere. So whoever wants perfection, one should follow the process of bhakti in some way or the other. And Prabhupada says in the previous chapters, it has been stated that Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal of both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. And in the same way, in this chapter, it is emphatically declared that Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal of all the different varieties of worship of the different demigods. So Bhakti Yoga, thus being the supreme means of self-realization, is recommended here. Everyone must seriously take up the process of bhakti, even though one aspires for material enjoyment or liberation from bondage. So whatever it may be, even if you are going to go to the path of jnana or you're going to go through the path of karma, you will have to essentially take up bhakti, and it is all a part of Krishna. Any sort of liberation is a part of Krishna. So bhakti is ultimate. Without bhakti, nothing is possible. That is what is being conveyed in this particular paragraph. I'll finish this and then we'll take the question, Tulsi Gopi Mataji. Okay. Now, this is about moksha kama. The first paragraph was about whom? About a person who's desiring moksha, liberation. He could be desiring impersonal liberation. Even then, he has to take to the path of bhakti, and his impersonal liberation is where? Where is the position that he's going to attain? He's going to attain the Brahmajyoti, which is a part of Krishna. So there is no escape. And Krishna is the one who can sanction that. Superficially, for you, it may appear I am a worshipper of Shiva, I've attained Brahmajyoti. Shiva has sanctioned it. No. Shiva knows, he's aware that you're getting liberation. But the ultimate sanction is coming through Krishna. Okay, so that's how one should understand attaining Brahmajyoti or Mokshakami. These people are called as Mokshakamis because they have a desire. Generally, they say people who are aspiring to attain Brahmajyoti, they have no desires, right? They want to become desireless. That's why they are going to Brahman. There is so much variety in this material world. They want to negate all varieties. There is so much desire in this material world. They want to negate all desires. And they want to attain a state of bliss where there is nothing, they just exist. There is just the Sat feature and full, and they just exist there. That is the Brahman bliss, right? They want to go there. We say that those are the aspirants of the Brahmajyoti. But actually, the verse here calls them Mokshakamis. They have kama, they have a desire. What is that desire? They actually want to get liberated. That itself is a desire. That's how the verse says. How can attaining liberation be a desire? The point is, you have a desire, something that is outside this. It is for your enjoyment only you're asking that, right? Liberation, you're asking for your enjoyment. So ultimately, it is a karma only. It is a desire. So that you can be freed. It's all about you, actually. So that you can be freed and you go to the Brahmajyoti. So this is about Mokshakami. So the Mokshakami also, ultimately, he has to go to Krishna only because Krishna is only going to sanction it because ultimately it is his Brahmajyoti. Point number one. Now, second, we are going to talk about the akamas. Akamas means I have no material desire. I don't have any material desire. If such a person is there, he should also go to Krishna only. That is what the verse is saying. A living being is naturally a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, Purusham Purnam. And his natural function is to serve the Supreme Being, like the parts and parcels of the body or the limbs of the body are naturally meant to serve the complete body. So desireless means it's not like you want to be inert like a stone. What is real desirelessness? Desirelessness, akama, means you are actually conscious of your original position and you desire to function for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So desirelessness definition is bhajaniya paramapurusha sukhamatra swa sukhatvam. This is mentioned in the Sandarbhas of Srila Jeev Goswami. That means, what is real desirelessness? Desirelessness means one should feel happy by experiencing the happiness of the Supreme Lord. To see Krishna happy is one's happiness. If one thinks like that, then one is desireless. Why? Because he's not thinking of his desires. He's not thinking of himself. He's thinking of what? He's thinking of the happiness of Krishna. If Krishna is happy, I am happy. If Krishna is smiling, I am pleased. His whole life is about serving Krishna. So this condition is called as desirelessness. Desirelessness means not just standing like a stone and saying, I don't have any desire or do anything. Actually, the person who does that has most a number of desires, right? He wants to be liberated from a conditioned state. He is actually mokshakami, such a person who says, I don't want desire, I don't want desire, I don't want desire. A person like that actually is a mokshakami because he wants to get liberated. But a true akami is a devotee. Why? Because a devotee feels happy when Krishna feels happy. This is the natural intuition of every living entity. Because Jivera Swarapai Krishnera Nityadas, that is our constitutional position. But however, we are using a very perverted reflection of our constitutional position and we are having desires in seeing some other things happy and seeing others happy, and we are deriving happiness through it. Like, for example, a person performs altruism or philanthropy or socialism and communism, and through that he feels unhappiness in a perverted fashion. Instead of serving himself, he says, I'm serving others, I'm serving my nation, I'm serving my community, I am freely giving food. I am freely constructing some shelters or some hospitals for other. I am so giving. I'm so generous. I'm not doing it for myself. So this is actually a perverted reflection of that original thing that you want, the original nature of the soul. The original nature of the soul is not to enjoy happiness for himself, but to see Krishna happy. That is the original nature. But rather a perverted reflection in this material world of trying to relish that original happiness is through the medium of altruism, philanthropy, socialism, communism, and so on. Okay. Prabhupada says these people have undeveloped minds and they are less intelligent because it is all convoluted in this material world. In the mundane field, such an outlook of doing good to others in the form of society, in the form of family, country, or humanity is partial manifestation of that original feeling in which a pure living entity feels happiness by the happiness of the Supreme Lord. Such superb feelings, that is, the original feelings, were exhibited by the damsels of Rajbhumi, the gopis. The gopis loved the Lord without any return. This was the Akama spirit. Who exhibited Akama to the best capacity? It was the gopis of Vrindavan. Because all that they wanted to do is see Krishna happy. If Krishna has to leave them and go, and that's how Krishna will be happy, they were ready for that. If Krishna's headache has to be cured by getting the dust from their feet, they were ready to give the dust from their feet, ready to go to hell, if it is going to make Krishna happy. This is the pure Kama spirit. It is not for their own satisfaction, but it was the transcendental Akama. It was for the satisfaction of the Lord. So we have Mokshakami, we have the Akama. Both of them, what should they do? They have to go to Krishna only. Back to the Mokshakamis. These Mokshakamis, they want to become one with the Lord, or they want to merge into Brahma Jyoti. So these people, they are actually doing it for their own satisfaction. They want to get liberated. They want to be relieved from the material miseries of life. So such a person is a Mokshakami. He's not a pure devotee. But however, Prabhupada gives the example. Arjuna declined to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra because he wanted to save his relatives for his own satisfaction. But being a pure devotee, he agreed to fight on the instruction of the Lord, and he came to his senses and realized that satisfaction of the Lord at the cost of his own satisfaction was his prime duty. Thus, he became a Kama. From a full Kami, from Sarvakami, Arjuna became an Akama when he heard the instructions of the Lord. So this is the perfected state of a living being. So we know what is Mokshakami. We know what is Sarvakami. We are the perfect examples of Sarvakami. And how to come to the point of Akama being a Sarvakama example is Arjuna. Arjun initially had a lot of karma. He was thinking, I'm very udara, I'm very liberal. I'm trying to help my relatives by not fighting them and so on. But eventually, Krishna educated him and he became an Akami. The word udaradihi in this verse is very significant. So, udaradihi means one who has broader outlook. People with desires for material enjoyment, they worship all these small demigods that we just saw. But the verse said that their intelligence is condemned. It is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Hritakjnana, one who worships demigods, their intelligence is stolen. He has lost his senses. One cannot actually obtain any result from demigods without getting sanction from the Supreme Lord. So, a person with broader outlook can see and understand that the ultimate authority is of the law is from the Lord. The Lord is the ultimate authority. So, with a broader outlook, he understands everything is coming from the Supreme Lord. Whether he wants enjoyment in this world or he wants enjoyment in liberation, or he doesn't want enjoyment, whether it is Akama, Sakama, or Mokshakama, he understands that he should only worship the Supreme Lord. So this means that Bhakti Yoga can be perfectly administered. That is the ultimate process. And the best part about Bhakti is that it can be administered without any mixture of karma and jnana. But karma and jnana cannot be administered without a mixture of Bhakti. Vice versa is not possible. Because Krishna is involved, right? The minute you say Krishna, some element of bhakti should be there if you want to please the Supreme Lord. So, jnana and karma cannot be without bhakti, but bhakti can stand independent of jnana and karma. And that's why it's called as Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param. The Tivra, the word Tivra is full-fledged bhakti. As an unmixed sun ray is forceful and is therefore called as Tivra. Similarly, unmixed bhakti yoga of hearing and chanting may be performed by one and all regardless of inner motive. Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So the word Tivra is very significant. Generally, if you really want to please the Supreme Lord, what should you do? You should worship the Supreme Whole by all means with full force, full desire. And that is when the Lord is completely satisfied. Okay. Tulsi Gopi Mataji, please go ahead and take the question.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I just wanted to understand the meaning of Ananga. You quoted something is with Ananga, something I missed that point. What does that mean? Something is Ananga, Bhakti, or some karma, something is Ananga. So I was wondering, what is the meaning of Ananga?
Did I say Ananga? It should be Ananya Mataji, Ananya
Oh,
Bhakti.
Ananya, okay.
If I said Ananga, then it is without body. So I don't know what I said. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm thinking how you can do Ananga Bhakti.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know if I heard wrong, but
I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe it sounded like that. Yeah, Ananya Bhakti, I should have
Ananya,
said.
acha. So Ananya is bhakti and sorry, Ananga is not like Kam or karma and jnana can be Ananga, or is that what it means? Or I don't know. Anyway, let it be.
I don't know what I said.
Sorry, maybe my bad.
It's okay, Mataji. Yeah, I might have said something. Anyway. Thank you, Mataji. But Ananga, I can only think of Kamadev as Ananga. Anyway, text 11.
What is the in spiritual names? There is so many Ananga Sundari, Ananga Gopi, Ananga. So what does that mean, Ananga? Priya,
Ananga.
Ananga Priya, Ananga Manjari, like that.
I thought Ananga is the name of Kama, right? Ananga, one without Ananga was Kamadeva. And one who's very attractive like Ananga, meaning one who can be like very beautiful, is also Ananga.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's very attractive and very, like we say, Madan Mohan Mohini. Mohini, Ananga. That's how I'm thinking. I could be wrong, but if someone has better Sanskrit knowledge, can edit and correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. एतवानेव यजताम् इह निःश्रेय सोदयः भगवती अचलो भावो यद्भागवत संगतः. Anyone for translation?
All the different kinds of worshippers of multi demigods can attain the highest perfectional benediction, which is spontaneous attraction, unflinchingly fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by the association of the pure devotee of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So we saw about demigod worshippers, and we saw that even if you have many desires, or you have no desire, or if you are moksha kama, you go and worship the Supreme Lord. But we should also understand that ultimately everybody will come to bhakti only. Meaning, even if you're a demigod worshipper, okay, all different kinds of demigod worshippers, they can also, it's not that once they are going to some demigod, they are gone forever. Even they can come to the highest perfectional benediction, and they can reach the devotion of Krishna if they take shelter of the association of a pure devotee of the Lord. Again, this also, many of us, before coming to Krishna consciousness, we would have been attracted to some demigod. It's not like all of us were like 100% Krishna conscious from day one. Some could be in this call who had perfect backing up since childhood. They could have had. Some people wouldn't have had. Okay, they would have gone elsewhere, and we were under the impression that is bhakti. At least I was under the impression that you have affection for any demigod, that is also considered bhakti. But then it's not like we are stuck there forever. If a person who is mokshakami can become a devotee, like Shukadev Goswami or the four Kumaras, then what to talk about demigod worshippers? Demigods are ultimately servants of the Lord, right? So even they also have a chance. Even those who are going to demigods, somehow or the other, if they come in contact with a devotee, they can also become servants of the Supreme Lord. They can also become devotees of the Supreme Lord. All the different kinds of worshippers of various multi-demigods can attain the highest perfectional benediction, which is spontaneous attraction to the Supreme Lord by the association of a pure devotee, Bhagavata Sangataha, by the association of a Bhagavata. Who's the Bhagavata? Bhagavata means by a devotee. So this is also something that has happened in many of our lives. Though we have been a hodgepodge of everything, we have been here and there, ultimately through a devotee, we have also become devotees. Right? So Prabhupada says, see, all living entities in all statuses of life within this material creation, beginning from the great demigod Brahma down to an ant, we are all under the laws of material nature or the external energy of the Supreme Lord. And we are suffering in this material world. But however, the living entity in its pure state is a part and parcel of the Lord. And unfortunately, he's thrown into this material world. And in this material world, he's trying to lord over material energy. But trying to lord over material energy, he's struggling every single day. He's struggling for his existence. This struggle for existence in this material world, thinking that I'm going to lord it over, having that lording over mentality, we are actually just struggling. It is like following the will-o-wisp under the spell of material enjoyment. So all our plans for enjoyment is all damaged in this material world. It has all become a chase for something that doesn't exist in this material world. And we are continuously going through the problems of birth, death, old age, and disease within this material world. So basically, all of us are making plans in this material world. But we all just come and we leave. Nobody is staying permanent in this material world, meaning we are permanent in this material world, but we are not permanently enjoying what we desire to enjoy. Okay, we make many plans, but nobody stays permanently to enjoy those plans, right? So that is the nature of this material world. But however, the main focus of human life is to find a solution for these problems of life. We can never solve such problems by satisfying different demigods, by doing different kinds of worship to all the demigods. By doing worship to all these demigods and trying to satisfy them, we will only get more and more entangled in this world. So the Vedas may recommend you go to different demigods and you can get various benefits. Yes, the demigods are very, very powerful. They are managing different departments of universal affairs. And these demigods, they will give you what you want. But the point is, you might receive all these benedictions, but still you will be stuck in this material world. So that is not what we should be doing. Okay, we should rather go to the Supreme Lord and directly aim for liberation, go beyond this material world. Now, there are also other sets of people who are completely atheistic. They decline the existence of both God and the demigods. There are such people also. Such people are bound to suffer. They are also going to be stuck in this material world. So, ideally, what we should do is we should accept what is given in the Vedic literature, what our acharyas, Prabhupada mentions Shankaracharya, Ramanuja, Madhva, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarka, Chaitanya, Mahaprabhu, all of them, they are all recommending that one should actually go to the Supreme Lord. So if we follow in their footsteps, follow the teachings that is given in the Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that our goal is not to be stuck in this material world, but to advance further. And instead of worshipping temporary demigods, though these demigods are real, they exist, it has been established by the acharyas that they exist, still one should not get stuck in this enjoyment of this material world in different phases of phantasmoria. Prabhupada says phantasmagoria. Phantasmagoria. I think the other day Kirtida Mataji was also giving the example of seeing castles in air. So that is an example of phantasmagoria. So that is how this material world is. It's full of illusory happinesses. So rather, instead of getting stuck in these different illusory happinesses, going behind demigods and trying to satisfy our senses all the time, rather we can follow the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and we can perfect our lives. But then we should remember all this is possible only and only by the mercy of pure devotees. Okay, so without the thread of this devotees holding on to the Guru Parampara, it is not possible for us to make any sort of advancement. Great, okay. And we are now in verse number 12. With that, this section is complete. So I will finish this verse and then I'll let everyone go. And this is actually an extension of what we have already seen, that even jnanis take to bhakti, then why not demigod worshippers can take to bhakti? Actually, in this section, demigod worshippers are more glorified than jnanis, okay? Because it is easier for demigod worshippers to take up to bhakti simply because they are favored by the demigod, as well as it is very easy for them to catch hold of a devotee and advance. Even if jnanis can take up to bhakti, then what is the problem for demigod worshippers? That is the question that is asked in verse number 12. Jnanam yat apratinvritta guromi chakram atma prasada utayatra guneshva sangaha kaivalya sammata patastva atha bhakti yogaha ko nivrita hari kata suratim na kuryat. Anyone for translation?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes,
Transcendental knowledge in relation with the Supreme Lord Hari is knowledge resulting in complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of the material modes. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to its being free from material attachment, and being transcendental, it is approved by authorities. Who could fail to be attracted?
So this verse is telling, if jnana, that is knowledge, jnana, which creates differences, which creates indifference to the waves of material modes. Once, these jnanis, they are indifferent to the modes of material nature. They become very indifferent to the things of the world. If the path of jnana is creating indifference to the waves of the material modes, if it is very self-satisfying, jnanis are generally very self-satisfied. If it is free from gunas, and if it is transcendental and approved by different authorities, then such a process can lead to bhakti yoga. And who could fail to be attracted to Harikatha? So the point here is, if this process of jnana is very self-satisfying, and if that itself can lead you to bhakti, and if it can even make you attracted to Harikatha, then do you think the people who are demigod worshippers cannot be attracted to Harikatha, cannot go home back to Godhead, cannot become devotees of the Lord? It is very much possible even for demigod worshippers. If jnanis who are so self-satisfied, who are very happy, who are beyond the modes of material nature, are getting attracted to Harikatha. So similar verse we have seen in the past, right? When we saw about Shukadev Goswami. Anyone knows that verse? Atma Ramascha Munai. Yeah, in that verse also we saw that these self-satisfied sages, they are also attracted to the glories of the Lord. Right? That was the verse. So these people, they don't fail to get attracted to Harikatha. Then what to talk about the demigod worshippers? This is what this verse is trying to indicate, because it is connected to verse number 11. Though when you read the translation, you don't immediately get that idea. It is supposed to be connected to verse number 11. So Prabhupada, he explains in the purport. He says, according to Bhagavad Gita, the characteristics of devotees is wonderful. Pure devotees, they're continuously engaged in the service of the Lord. And pure devotees, they are continuously talking about Krishna, and they are relishing transcendental bliss. This is one of the Chaturshloki verses. Kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Machitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. This is the verse. This is the nature of pure devotees. Pure devotees are always in transcendental bliss. And even in the stage of devotional practice, which is sadhana avastha, there also, if it is taken under the guidance of a spiritual master, they have this continuous transcendental feeling of happiness in relationship with Krishna. That is the nature of bhakti. Bhakti is called as kaivalya according to Srila Jiva Goswami. Generally, when we use the word kaivalya, we think of impersonal liberation. But however, the word kaivalya can also mean kaivalya means that which enables one to approach the Lord is called as kaivalya panta. Through this process, this is the only process to attain Godhead. If there is one process the one and only process to attain Godhead, that process can also be called as kaivalya. Okay, the word kaivalya generally in common terms means impersonal liberation. Kaivalyam narakayevate. This is what is being told by our Vaishnava acharyas. They say the word kaivalya is as good as hell. Kaivalya means oneness. But here, Jiva Goswami is giving a different definition for the word kaivalya. Kaivalya means only and only Supreme Personality of God. Only one path which is devotion to Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he calls even that as Kaivalya. So basically, here in this purport, Prabhupada is telling us that we should follow this Kaivalya Pantha, the path of Kaivalya. What is Kaivalya Pantha? Kaivalya Pantha it means not to become one with God, but Kaivalya Pantha means you just approach only this one God. And this Kaivalya Pantha, it begins with Shravanam, hearing about the topics of the Lord. So one should be attached to Hari Katha. If we are attached to Hari Katha, then automatically we will become attracted to Krishna. Whether it is an impersonalist or he is a personalist or he is a demigod worshipper, one automatically becomes attracted to Harikatha. So if we want to become devotees, the recommendation given by Srila Prabhupada is begin with Harikatha, start hearing Harikatha. That's what this verse is also telling, because no one cannot be attracted to Harikatha. It is very natural to get attracted to Harikatha. In this world, we are continuously agitated by the modes of material nature. It is tormenting us. But somehow or the other, if we get the association of a devotee, our devotional service will begin. What do we mean by getting association of devotee? Association of devotee means hearing Harikatha from them. That is association of a devotee. Okay. So if we get that association from a devotee, we automatically can become devotees and express this transcendental bliss. So even mundane activities dovetailed in the service of the Lord are calculated to be transcendental or approved kaivalya affairs. In Krishna consciousness, externally, even if you're doing mundane activities, it is as good as spiritual activities or kaivalya activities as per the Vaishnava understanding of kaivalya. Okay, so with that, this section is done. So we'll stop here. So what we saw in this section is we saw about demigod worship versus pure devotional service. We saw that you can worship various kinds of demigods to get your desires satisfied. However, whatever your desire may be, Whether you are full of desires, you have no desire, or you have desire for moksha, it is better to approach the Supreme Lord. But don't worry, even if you are a demigod worshipper, ultimately through devotee association, you will get bhakti. If jnanis can get bhakti, then what to talk about demigod worshippers? They will also get bhakti through the process of getting in touch with a devotee and hearing Harikatha. Okay. So that's all the section was. We'll stop here. If you have any thoughts or comments, corrections, please go ahead. And whoever wants to log out, please log out. Yeah, stop screen share. Yeah, Rupal Mataji, did you have a hand raise?
No, Mataji, I did not have a hand raise, but I still have one question.
Yeah.
So the Gnanis you mentioned today in this purport, they can also become devotee just by listening. So means anyone can get become a devotee, Gnanis or Karmis, for both of them. So is there a step after Gnani or Karmi, or Gnani is a different step and Karmi is a different step?
In different examples, like Shukadev Goswami and the four Kumaras, they were jnanis, but they somehow or the other got the association of a devotee. Like the four Kumaras, they smelled the tulsi on the lotus feet of the Lord and they became devotees. Shukadev Goswami, he heard the verses of the Bhagavatam and he became a devotee. So basically, anybody can become a devotee through Harikatha. That is the point. Okay.
So the difference between Gnani and Karmi is Gnani doesn't serve, but Karmis can serve. Is that right way to understand?
So what?
Service to Krishna, service like seva.
Why? I mean, I didn't understand where Seva came. So the point is, forget karmis. Here we are talking about demigod worshippers and we're talking about jnanis. So demigod worshippers are going to some demigod to satisfy their desires. You can call them karmis, fine. You can call them karmis. But the idea is that the karmis also, when they are worshipping the demigods, somehow or the other, if they come in association of a devotee, they can also become devotees. That's all.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, okay. That one thing. The four Kumaras, they were Gnanis, but they smelled the tulsi.
Yeah, so the jnanis, it is more difficult for them. Why is it more difficult for them? Because they are already self-satisfied. Okay, so then they think, oh, we are already, on the path to liberation. So for them to become devotees, it could be a little more difficult than for demigod worshippers. That is the point that we are trying to convey here.
When you say self-satisfied, do you mean they're already in transcendental mode? Is that
Yeah. Yes.
as compared to Karmis, Gnanis are already in the transcendental mode. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Got you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, Sonal Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So my question is like, so without devotees' mercy, no one can come in the bhakti or in this knowledge. So
Yes.
whoever is here, they got some kind of mercy from devotee, right?
Of course, yes, Mataji. Without devotee, nothing is possible. And this has been mentioned in Bhagavatam over and over, even in the Bhagavad Gita, everywhere, and even our own lives. Without a devotee, who got bhakti? Nobody got bhakti. If you say, okay, I didn't meet a single devotee, I came to Krishna consciousness through Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada is a devotee. So you came to Krishna consciousness through Prabhupada. So he's a devotee. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
So Mataji, impersonalist, eventually, if they come in contact with the devotee, they will also convert, right?
Yes, very much. Yes. Okay. So ultimately, everyone comes to bhakti. Okay. Okay. So if there's nothing else, then we can end here. Yeah. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo
वैष्णव नमो नमः
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Vaishnav
की
Prabhupada ki
जय
jai.
की
Ending the
जय
call. Thank you.
Bharti Vilas